Wednesday, May 16th, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time, 2018. Guys, in this video, I want to go over the website, the different tabs and real-time data on the website. For the people that are new and maybe have never visited the website, I think you'll find it a good little hub for information. I want to share something with you later on in the video of something I saw back in October. I don't have any pictures, but I am going to recreate the moment and do the best I can to convey to you what I did see. I didn't have time to take pictures. I've never spoke about it, but the story is true. It happened in October of 2017. And I also have some other interesting observations that have surfaced on Google Earth. But first, the website, MrMBB333.com. We'll start up here at the top with the Daily Report. And the Daily Report is a collection of various news articles from around the world about various topics. I think there's a little bit of something in here for everybody, including scientific white papers. You'll see an International Space Station Daily Report that's updated every day. Here's an example of a scientific white paper. A lot of these come from Harvard, sometimes MIT. This particular one's dated May 16th, so it's today. What have they found? This is the first time I've been here today myself. So astronomers find fastest growing black hole in known space. And this is a computer generated simulated image of the supermassive black hole. Astronomers have found the fastest growing black hole known in the universe, describing it as so big that it can devour the mass equivalent to our sun every 2 days. So that's pretty incredible. And I think you'll find some other news articles and things like that in here. Very interesting, and also some very incredible reports. And again, scientific white papers that come through occasionally. These tabs through here are all real-time data. Let's just start here. X-ray solar flares. Right now, it's very quiet. This is from the Space Weather Prediction Center. You don't see anything above A. And A is a very, very minor solar flare. It's been super quiet for weeks. Sometimes during solar maximums and in between solar maximums and solar minimums, you will see X flares or M flares, C flares, B flares, but nothing in weeks. The sun has been incredibly quiet. And we are in very much a solar minimum. That's the tab you see here. We'll go here next. This is the SFU, which is the solar flux units. And that's the number that tells us where we are with regard to solar minimum. And you can see right now in 2018, this is where we are compared to years past. This was the last solar maximum. This was the solar maximum prior back in 2001, 2002. And once again in 2012, 2013. The cycle goes in 11-year cycles. 11-year reaches maximum, 11-year minimum. One thing we noticed with regard to solar minimums, the weather does change. The climate changes on Earth during solar minimums. You see bigger storms, unusual weather patterns, wild fluctuations in temperatures, and we are seeing that in 2018, much like we saw back in 2007 and 2008. So that number right there is probably one of the most important numbers on the page. The Sun tab takes you straight to the SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory. You can look at the sun through a variety of different filters, and you can see that there's just not much activity right now with regard to sunspots. In fact, the sun is pretty much blank. There are no, well, actually there's one. There's one active region, but it has not produced, as you can see here, a sunspot. So more than likely there will be no solar activity from that area with regard to solar flares or CMEs. There are, that's what these dark spots are, there are some coronal holes on the surface of the sun, but again, not that many. These can produce geomagnetic storms on Earth because they release a different type of energy. The sun, let's just go to a image here. The sun, like the Earth, has many layers of its atmosphere. It's very complex, much like the Earth in that regard. When the sun develops a hole in its atmosphere, and you can look basically down at the surface of the sun, any energy that comes off of the surface of the sun through that hole is unfiltered, so to speak, by the atmosphere of the sun. So if that energy is coming directly towards Earth or in the Earth's neighborhood, Earth's shields will feel that different type of energy, because normally it's used to this that's filtered through the different layers. Coronal holes do produce a different type of energy, and when they're Earth directed, they can cause northern lights, auroras, and geomagnetic storms. Right now, the geomagnetic K index, which is an indicator of geomagnetic storms, very quiet. If there were storms, you would see red-orange spikes here, actually red, and yellow spikes, which are moderate. Right now, it is, in some cases, flatlined. Very, very quiet. So again, it shows us that the Earth is indeed in a minimum state with regard to solar maximum, solar minimum. This is the ionosphere. This is one of the first lines of defense against space weather with regard to radiation storms from the sun. And this will react and show you, that the Earth's shields are buffeting energy, high-speed energy from the sun. And when it does interact with high-speed solar winds, it will go up into the reddish-orange phase, and it's not. You can see right now it's down at the very bottom. It's just very, very quiet with regard to space weather. And that does affect the climate on Earth. Solar wind speed, those numbers are usually amplified by storms on the sun, which come towards the Earth sometimes. And as you can see, the solar wind speed is at a whopping 327 kilometers per second. That is ultra quiet. So the density is about average, a little over 10. That's normal. The Earth's vital signs, I put this in here, and again, this is updated constantly. All of this is real-time data. And if you study this on a day-to-day basis, like I have for years, you'll notice the changes in these instruments as we're going through high-speed solar wind streams from coronal holes, or if the Earth is dealing with a solar flare of large magnitudes and dense CMEs. You'll see these instruments reflect that in the density. That's the solar wind density, solar wind speed, pressure, temperature, the IMF magnitude. I talked about that earlier. The magnitude is north, so no solar wind, or if there were any, would be allowed to come in at the moment. Convection, alpha and speed. Then you've got your thermal energy, which is very low. Alpha and Mach, very low. And that tab is under the Earth's vital signs. X-ray solar flares, not a thing. Very, very quiet. We go over here. This is also real-time data, the geoelectric map. Normally, during geomagnetic storms, this would be very active. Like, it would show bright purple, red colors throughout, and this just shows the United States, but it affects the entire northern and southern hemisphere. And we live in an electric universe, so everything has some sort of an electric component to it with regard to planets, moons, everything. And yourself. You and I we're biological antennas. So right now you can see everything's very, very quiet on that home front. Real-time lightnings calmed down considerably since yesterday. We got just up over 30,000 in the North American lightning map. Right now it's at 6,100. So the storms have subsided. They're very quiet right now. I think there might be a chance for storms later on this afternoon. Seismographs, this is when we noticed the strange pulse that went through the United States. It traveled from Maine all the way across the United States into Oregon and Washington, nearly 3,000 miles. And it was a small source of energy that locally, if it were some sort of a earthquake or something like that, it wouldn't have traveled 100 miles. But it kept the same strength all the way across the entire U.S. So it was a very unusual observation, and it took about 19 minutes to travel from Maine to the far western coast of the United States, and it maintained the same strength the entire journey. So very interesting times we're living in, guys. And if you pay attention, what I've done is I've put a collection of good little sources of information that if you really are interested in learning about the Earth and how your planet manages energy and the different phases that the sun goes through and how it affects Earth, this is a good starting point. SO2 and CO2, I've got it configured now to where it takes you right to Hawaii, where the biggest concerns right now for sulfur dioxide are, as they're dealing with multiple fissures, vents in the ground from lava. Kilauea has now launched a large ash plume, so a lot of sulfur dioxide on the big island of Hawaii. So that tab can be found over here on the lower right, and again, that is real time, like the tab underneath it. This is from NOAA, and this is the Goes East Imager. This is the latest image of your planet in color. How you like that? You can click on it, it enlarges it, you can zoom around, take a look at the planet, look at the oceans, look at the current conditions of the atmosphere with regard to clouds, how they're behaving. Every once in a while you might see an anomaly on there, but overall it looks pretty normal. And that's this tab here, the Earth Goes East in color. Underneath that, real-time tab as well, quakes and volcanoes. These are all of the active and moderate volcanic activity around the world. Red means they are erupting. Like there's over 20 now that are in eruptive levels, and the rest of them are pretty quiet. This also shows earthquakes as well, and that's under the Earthquakes and Volcanoes tab. Astrophotography, this is a fairly new tab implemented within the last 3 to 4 weeks. Young man here by the name of Jeremy Hetrick does an excellent job of photography. He can photograph deep space, nebulas. He does an outstanding job. So I was greatly, it was my pleasure, let's put it that way, to add his link to the website. So if you haven't checked out the Astrophotography tab, I encourage you to do so. If you appreciate deep space photography, he's your guy. All right, guys, so that's pretty much sums up the website. Oh, I forgot about the Schumann resonance. This is a very important part of the Earth. This is the frequency of Earth, and we talked about this in a previous video about how planets have frequencies. And you can see the frequency of our planet is fluctuating. This is the Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance is normally in the 7.8 range, just below 8, and you can see it's spiking up into the neighborhood of 40 occasionally. The sun being quiet, you don't know what to think of these spikes. But it's just another example of how planets are alive and well, and they are antennas, just like you and I are. We receive and transmit energy and don't even know it. Moon phase, that's a very important part of the Earth. Its satellite, the moon, is responsible for the tides and a lot of other things. So I always keep track of the moon, what phase the moon's in, and this is the tab you'll find underneath wildlife behavior, the green tab. This map will be updated today. Right now, this is the current map situation with regard to unusual wildlife observations. We have nearly 80 across the United States. And again, I want to emphasize, these are just the ones that we know of. A little over 10 in Canada, 2 or 3, actually 3 in Great Britain. And there's others from around the world. But like I said, these are just the ones that we know of. And I will be updating that map today. There's been several new reports come in. And before I leave the website, I want to share with you the fabulous Sky Phenomenon photo gallery that was created by you. You guys are awesome. You take some incredible sky pictures, and we greatly appreciate them here. There's been a huge backlog of email that we're going to get through today and tomorrow. So look for new pictures, many new pictures here at the Sky Phenomenon photo gallery at the website. enjoy them. These were created by you. So good job, good looking out, and way to have that camera ready and rolling. You guys have taken some spectacular photos of the sky. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. This is just one example of many right here. That's from New Mexico. Jeannie took that. Unbelievable. But like I said, I could show you hundreds of examples on here, but that tab is right here, the Sky Phenomenon Photo Gallery. Guys, a couple things I want to share with you on Google Earth. One is something unusual off the coast, a weird shadow. This was observed off the coast of the Canary Islands. In fact, I saw that yesterday as I was looking at the unusual ground vibration out in the Canary Islands. So I went there on Google Earth just to take a look around. Hadn't been there in a while. It's actually quite beautiful out there. But I noticed this weird shadow off the coast of the Canary Islands that just didn't fit in. And I've seen shapes like that in the sky with regard to different videos, things people have seen in the sky. And I just found that a bit unusual, and it's just simply out of place. I don't know what it is. I have no clue. But it's a shadow off the coast of the Canary Islands, and it's on Google Earth. So I just took a screenshot of it to share with you guys. Not a big deal. I have no idea what it even is. One other thing I want to share with you guys, and it involves, let me see if I can find it real quick. Someone is trying to share a video with me from Miami that's about 5 or 6 minutes long, and for whatever reasons, can't get the video through. Still trying, in fact. I tried yesterday and can't get the video through. And then today I noticed something over here at Strange Sounds that looks very much like what's in the video that's trying to be shared with me from Miami, Florida. I don't know what this is. I've never seen it. It's something on strangesounds.org, and it says, "What are these mysterious spheres? Spheres, a clue of ancient aliens or, the ancient past." What is that thing? It was found in some ancient archaeological dig. And I'll be darned if the photo that it's a video, actually, this is just a still shot of what they're trying to send me. I thought, that looks almost identical to what this person from Miami is trying to send me. This is a still shot of a segment of the video they're trying to share with me. Looks very similar to whatever this here is on the left. And I have no idea what this is on the right. Just an odd coincidence, guys, and I found that just kind of weird. But anyway, back to something that I do know something about, and that is very, very true. And this happened to me back in October of 2017 as I was sitting out back drinking coffee one morning. And I was looking east, and you know what I was looking for? I was looking at Hydra early in the morning, pre-sunrise. And we had a crystal clear morning this morning, and I could see many stars in the sky. In fact, there wasn't a cloud for miles. And what reminded me of that event, and I wasn't even going to share it with you guys because I don't have any pictures, but I do speak the truth. I ran across this image, I actually saw this on Google Earth, and it reminded me of that morning of October 29th, 2017, and it was 5:39 a.m. It's still dark, and I was sitting out back. It wasn't this, but what I saw in the sky reminded me of this with regard to color and similar shape, but not exact. What I saw was different. I drew a picture of what I saw in the sky, and then I also recreated it on a photograph. This is kind of hard to tell, but this is what I saw just out of the corner. Actually, I was probably looking right at it. I was sitting in a chair drinking coffee, looking to the east, southeast, as Hydra was coming up above the horizon. I've been following Hydra since 2012, and I still do. Well, this morning I was out looking and just watching Hydra as it was coming up above the horizon. It was still dark. All of a sudden, this appears out of nowhere from the east, traveling west-southwest very quickly. Made no sound. And I jumped up out of my chair because I was very surprised by this thing. And here is a little better description of what I saw. It was at 5:39 a.m. All I had time to do was I grabbed my phone and I took a screenshot of my time on my phone. And this thing, I probably saw it for maybe 3 to 4 seconds as it was moving in this direction. To the left is east, that is south, and this is west. I'm sitting below here in a chair looking to the east, and this just appears out of nowhere. And it had a, with regard to color, that was the color. It blended in perfectly with the night sky. These 3 lights on the underside of this thing were dull. They looked like ping pong balls cut in half, and they were situated exactly like I have here, but they were dull. They looked like a light oyster color. And the only reason I saw this thing is because it tilted. It was moving this direction, and it tilted to go south-southwest. And if it hadn't have tilted, I would have never seen it. That's why I drew this picture, was to show you guys it did have height to it. It's difficult to tell how much height, but it was at least the equivalency of a 1-story building. Its overall size was probably as big as a Costco. Are you guys familiar with Costco? That's how big it was. As big as a Costco building. And it made no sound whatsoever. And it just went through here like it was nothing. Made no sound, and it covered a very large area of the sky. I would say it was probably 5,000 feet away from me, and was probably sitting over here for all I know. I have no idea. I was quite surprised. I wasn't looking for anything like that. I've never even seen anything like that. But it's a true story that happened in October of 2017. I never brought it up because I don't have any pictures. I didn't even have pictures or have a chance to take pictures, to be honest. And because it moved by so quickly, but it moved from east to west, actually south-southwest, and it tilted just a little bit. And I'm telling you, if it hadn't have tilted, I would have never seen it. And it only tilted about 20 degrees, just enough so I could see these dull lights. It looked like a domino. A triangle-shaped domino. Domino's black with white dots. That's what it looked like, only in triangle shape, with depth to it. I'm sorry, height. It did have some height, but made absolutely no sound whatsoever. And it was huge, absolutely huge. So anyway, guys, found that very interesting. And I thought, you know what, I'll go ahead and share it because it is a true story. And then on a final note, something really unusual on Google Earth from over here in Northern Europe, in Germany. Check this out. It's a strange complex. Don't know what it is. Have no idea. Maybe you do if you're watching this. Look at this. It's abandoned, but these look like they were some sort of observatories of some sort. But if you look at this building, you can tell it's been abandoned for a long time. And it's got one of those, what do you call those things? Like a scanner type thing? There's a name for it. I don't know the name. I'm sorry. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've seen them everywhere nowadays. That's on top of one of the buildings. I don't know if that's just the side effect of somebody's creativity or if that was part of the original structure. But I don't know what this is, but it's very interesting. These domes look like some sort of observatories, but you can tell it hasn't been maintained for many, many years. What is that place? Looks like a collection of about 3 or 4 buildings, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's a small one down here. A 5th, like observatory, I don't know what else to call that. That reminds me of a observatory I've seen on the summits of the the volcanoes out in Hawaii. I look at those images all the time from the observatories on top of the volcanoes out in Hawaii, and that's what that reminds me of. These domes, they look like golf balls. But very strange complex over in where's that? Berlin, south of Charlottesburg. Right out here. Really unusual. Alright guys, that's all I've got for now. I want to thank you for watching. I certainly appreciate it. I want you to have a super day and be safe out there.